Good morning, everybody. This is Lorraine.
And Jennifer Denny.
And this morning we're going to have that age old debate, do it yourself or hire somebody, which is right for you.
Yay. And happy Friday, everybody. Say hello if you're here watching live. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And weigh in if you have a preference or an opinion on which makes more sense to do it yourself or to hire people as we're talking, join the conversation.
I know it's usually a pretty heated debate.
But it absolutely is kind of because there really are two approaches, especially as you're starting out, but even as you grow. Do you do something in-house or do you hire staff?
Yeah, I think you start off as a business, and of course, you're trying to build your dream team, and you don't instantly hire somebody in house. So I think naturally, when you first start, DIY is probably a good option.
Well, and so let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons of DIY and when it makes sense and when it doesn't. And you're right, when you don't have a lot of money, it does seem like DIY is a good option. I think it works if you have some skills in that area. You know, if you actually are good at writing or good at design or have a basic understanding of accounting.
Yep, yep. I mean, if you already have that skill set, there's no reason to hire it out. You can take care of it yourself. But, on the flip side, if you don't,
Well, and that I think is where training courses do come in. And I think there are certain things that you can learn. And clearly that's what I created the toolbox for. But you get to a question where you can do it, but should you do it? And that sort of gets into some of the cons of DIY.
yep, yep. Your time is worth something, and you're the owner of the company. And so, if you're spending all your time doing all your marketing when you could be focusing on running the business, that could be time wasted.
Absolutely. And I think that as a business owner, you have to decide, and especially when you're starting out, I think sometimes this is hard to do, but you have to decide if your time is worth X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
What's the most valuable thing you can do with that time? And I think we all fall into the trap. When you first start, you got nothing but time. You don't have the phones aren't ringing, you're not working on projects. But as soon as you start selling and as soon as you start generating revenue, now your time really has a value. And if you can hire a high school kid, these days it's a high school kid at $10 an hour. If you want a college student, you're going to pay a little bit more, but even so, you're not going to pay that much, 15, $20 an hour. If you can pay somebody else to do typing, filing, that kind of stuff to free you up, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. It's those two things, time efficiency and cost effectiveness. I think a lot of times when you first start off, you're just like, I can do it myself, so why would I pay? Well, you could be even that much more revenue generating if you were focusing on revenue generating activities, versus some other activities. So it becomes a time efficiency.
Absolutely. And so let's kind of look at the other side of it because, there are people who think, oh, as soon as I can hire somebody, all my problems are going to go away. As soon as I have enough revenue to pay someone. But
Yeah.
that's not really always, that's not all that's involved, is there?
No, I mean, just because you hire someone, you might be able to only afford a certain level of marketer, let's just experience. And so the expectation, though, as a business owner is, oh, well, they can do it all. And that's not true.
You know what? Even the most seasoned marketer even if, and I'm going to be arrogant, even if you or I walked into a company and we were hired to do a marketing job,
Yeah.
there are things that are in our skill set and there are things that are not. And so you have to recognize that there are going to still be those gaps. Beyond that, hiring somebody, yes, you write the check every month,
Mm-hmm.
but there's time involved in interviewing and finding and then training.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, even if you hire a very, very seasoned marketer, they have a way of doing things that may or may not be what you want.
And you need to invest in training with them with outside platforms. I've been doing digital marketing myself for over 15 years, and I still do training for myself.
Mhm.
It's an ongoing thing. So you can't have these expectations that you're not going to have to spend money in those scenarios on outside tools, which is why I think Digital Toolbox is really good for that.
Yeah, and I think the other risk of hiring people beyond just having to take the time to training is as you bring people into your organization, they become your organization.
Yes.
And if you have a brand that you have cultivated, if you have a reputation and a personality that is who you are in the marketplace, and you hire someone who doesn't fit that, as you
Hmm.
make that shift, you're going to struggle because they may or may not represent you and your brand the way you want to be represented.
Yeah, they are going to understand your niche or should understand your niche more than a marketing agency will. So they've got to be that brand advocate for you that if you get to the next level where you need to then hire a marketing agency, you've got to have that inside person. So
Absolutely. And so let's talk about that. And as you're trying to figure out what's right for you, you know, do you go DIY? Do you hire somebody? Do you hybrid? I think these days with so many virtual assistants and small agencies, there's really more options than just the two that we laid out.
yeah, yeah, there's lots of different ways to do this, and you really just need to evaluate what are the skill sets that you have, yourself with someone that's in-house and with an agency that you need to fill in order to have a strong marketing strategy.
Absolutely. And I think you need to look at both the skills and you need to look at what do what do you want to accomplish as a business, and also, if you're running your own business, you're doing it because there were things in corporate that you didn't like. And it's not that owning a business is all sunshine and lollipops. There's plenty of things that you may not want to do, but as you're looking at your business, make sure you don't hire someone to do all the things that you love.
Yes.
That I did
That's a
that.
mistake.
Well, yeah, but there was a point. I remember doing that at one point where I looked around and I went, but I like doing that, and I like doing that, and I don't like doing that, and that's all I'm doing. And we shifted. And it's
Mhm.
not that I fired the person, but I was like, no, you're going to need to take on some of these tasks that maybe
Yeah.
you don't love, but I don't love them either. So we're going to work around this. And I think that over time, you build a system where you make good decisions. Even as the company grows, even if you have a ton of people, there are
Mhm.
still times that you're like, you know what? There's nobody in house. And I'm going to give you the perfect example. Google
Yeah.
AdWords plagued the crap out of me. I know you love them. I hated them.
Mhm.
And that was something that even though we were doing marketing for other people, there was nobody in house that really had that skills. And so we cultivated relationships outside that we could refer to, because even even though we hired people, we didn't want to hire for that.
I think you're bringing up a really good point in that even at that level, different marketing agencies have different skill sets within their agencies. And so you might have to work at let's just say the next level, you've got multiple agencies. So for me, I'm in a lot of scenarios where there is two and three different marketing agencies because they all have a skill set and we're all working together to actually market for someone.
And so, if you're in that situation where you've got multiple people, what you need to have in house, whether it's you or a member of your team, is somebody coordinating all of that. And I
Mhm.
got news for you. When I was at Carrier and I had a multi-million dollar ad budget, I had a team, we still outsourced, but there was somebody on my team who managed the relationships with the sponsors for the race team and managed the relationship with the agency and managed all of those relationships so we could still focus on what it was we were trying to do.
Basically making the efficiency of the team,
Mhm.
and that they understood what the brand messaging was and all of that, like coordinating all of that also has to happen. I've been on some scenarios where that person doesn't exist and it can be a little hairy.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, this is another week.
Yay.
That went fast. We are always available. If you've got a question, pop it in the chat. Even if you're watching a recording of this, we'd love to hear your ideas and thoughts on DIY versus hiring. And if you're ready to hire somebody for your SEO and your AdWords, talk to the folks at Elevated Solutions, Elevated Marketing Solutions.
It's a long one for sure. And definitely check out the digital toolbox. Again, I don't care what level you're at, there should be constant learning from other. And when you've got someone like Lorraine that has as much experience as she does with all the courses, and I've even got a course in there, it really gives you a whole nother level.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.